right, ladies and gentlemen, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati on this fine Monday morning. Nice to have you here. Hey, boy, do I have a show for you today, okay? This is a good one. But, you know, just a couple of things. You know, some liberal folks, now some, not all, okay? Certainly not all. Some liberal folks are just kind of hard to talk to. Talking to some of them is like trying to describe Facebook to your grandmother, you know what I mean? But then I don't mind, you know, talking to these people, but I don't like to argue with them because I don't like engaging in mental combat with those who are unarmed. So this liberal guy I was talking to the other day, he said to me, you have two parts of your brain, left and right. And the left side, there's nothing right. And on the right side, there's nothing left. And I said, well, yeah. And if I wanted to kill myself, I'd climb to your ego and jump to your IQ. I like that one, okay? I think that one's pretty good. Okay, now listen, this one has nothing to do with politics, okay? It has to do with food, something very close to my heart. Do you know that any pizza can be a personal pizza if you really just dedicate yourself? Okay? All right, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati, I got a show for you today, so you stick around. We'll be right back.
Have a fun video you'd like to see featured on NCW Life? Email us at newsphotos@ncwlife.com.
All right, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati. Now look, this is my friend Vicki-Reed. Now Vicki, we have been friends for how long? I mean, more than, well, Rosie and I have been married 40 years, and I knew you before I knew Rosie.
Since 1976.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
okay.
41 years.
So we used to go to school together, been friends all that time, and happy to say about that. So what we want to do is I want to talk to you about a very interesting discovery you found recently.
Yes.
But first, before we do that, just tell us a little bit about yourself that doesn't get into the topic of the story today.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I work at Lewis and Clark Elementary, which is where all three of my kids went to grade school.
Yeah, mine too. My grandkids are going there
That's
now.
right.
So.
I see your grandkids on occasion. I tell people that I'm not a Wenatchee native, but I can come pretty close to passing for one.
Oh, you do? Well, your mother actually was Apple Blossom Queen back in, what, 1947?
52.
1952. Okay.
Don't make her older than...
And we know she's your mother, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You'll get that in a minute.
Yes.
Okay, but all right, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I moved to the Wenatchee Valley when I was 17.
Right.
I've lived here almost ever since. But I was born in LA, but I still have pretty deep Wenatchee roots. My maternal grandparents had orchards on Orchard Avenue,
right,
back when there were orchards on Orchard Avenue. My mom was born here at the Deaconess Hospital just up the street.
Right.
She was Apple Blossom Queen. She was starring in all the high school musicals and married her high school sweetheart, and then they moved to LA, which is how I ended up being born there.
Okay, cool. Now, and tell us about your husband, because that's pretty cool.
Oh.
This is a cool thing.
Yeah, I have a soft spot in my heart for my husband. He and I met almost 4 years ago, and we've been married now for a little over a year. He's a former Seattle police officer.
Retired police captain.
Retired police captain. That's what you're looking for, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's kind of cool stuff, right?
He's an amazing guy.
Okay, well, cool.
And I'll throw in a pitch for his business. He's now got his own consulting business.
Oh, good. What does he consult?
HR questions.
Oh, cool. Excellent. All right. So, well, You recently did something many of us do. Now, if you don't mind, Rosie and I did this a while back. We sent our DNA samples into Ancestry.com, and I found out something interesting. Even though my mom was born in Germany, I have no German in me. I am 29% Italian, 19% from the Iberian Peninsula, but there's no German, okay? Which is funny because my mother's family moved around a lot, but you also did something similar, didn't you? Let's hear about that. Tell us about your little journey.
Well, it was as simple as Dick and I were doing some Christmas shopping online. Pretty simple. He had done his own DNA through Ancestry.com and thought that his kids would enjoy looking up their family trees and such as well. So I heard from Dick that it was really interesting. I heard from Rosie.
Yeah, what did Dick show up to be? So
Mostly British.
okay.
A few other little things, but the lion's share of it is British.
Okay. Well, Rosie thought she knew she had some Irish in it, but she found out she's actually 49% Irish. So okay. So Dick was British.
Dick was British. We were going to treat his kids to the same experience. And I'd heard from you and Rosie that it was fascinating stuff.
It's kind of cool.
And I knew very little about the paternal side of my family. My folks divorced when I was 3 or 4. And so I thought, well, maybe the time is right now to find out a little more about that side of my family. More or less, it was just a whim.
Okay.
So
So you used not Ancestry.com. You did
started with Ancestry.com.
Okay. All right, cool.
Started with Ancestry.com. It's really a very simple process. Dick ordered my kit when he ordered the kits for his kids.
Yeah, they give you a little tube, plastic tube, and you have to spin in it. You know, it's kind of disgusting, but
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, when you register your kit online, you give them an email address to send your results to. Dick put his email address in for that. You spit in a little test tube thingy. You seal it and shake it up and ship it off, and they get back to you.
Okay, so you did this with Ancestry.com. And
Did this with Ancestry.com.
Okay, so tell us about the results.
The results. Well,
You're going to love this.
Now, here, first what I was expecting, okay? Start with expectations, right?
Yeah, because I did. I really expected I'd be half Italian, half German.
Right.
And, there was no German there at all.
Yes.
So.
We used to tease you about being both sides of the axis. Yeah. And with me, I thought I was going to be mostly German. And from what I had heard, my heritage was pretty ordinary. Mostly German on both sides of the family. It was pretty much your average American Heinz 57,
Right,
other
sure.
than that. So
That's what you were expecting.
That's what I was expecting.
Okay.
And having spent my grade school years in LA, I thought that was pretty ordinary.
Okay.
I grew up, my classmates, playmates were very diverse, some Spanish speaking or Asian, black, mixed race. And I was actually a little envious. I thought they were just so much more interesting.
Right, just us poor white bread folk.
That's right.
It's,
Yeah.
sometimes being white's boring.
Boring. How about just ordinary?
Okay, all right, ordinary.
Uninteresting, maybe.
Okay,
Depends on if you are one or not, I guess, right?
that's true, I guess.
So yeah, that's where the whole thing started. And then one Saturday morning, March 25th, I have the date at the front of my mind. Saturday morning, my husband and I are getting ready to leave the house.
All right.
He walks past me on his way out to the car and hands me his phone and says, "Hey, honey, your DNA results are in."
Had he looked at it yet?
He hadn't looked
He
at
hadn't
it
looked
yet.
at it, okay.
No. So I've got his phone. I just poke on the little email, and it opens up, and I scan the first few lines and yell so loud that my husband in the garage can hear me. Dick, I'm Jewish.
You found out that you were
46% Jewish.
And there's nobody Jewish in your family?
No,
Okay.
not that I knew of.
All right.
Which was part of the, which was one of the questions that, all of a sudden I'm hit in the face with all these questions. How can I be Jewish?
Yeah.
How can you keep 46%? How can you keep something that big a secret, And it even said in the DNA report, we predict that one of your parents or one of your grandparents is 100% Ashkenazi Jew. And my head is just swimming. It was just bizarre. First of all, who was it? How did they keep this secret? Why did they keep this secret? Were they afraid of prejudice or persecution, or?
So you were suspecting that your families knew and just never said anything.
That's right.
And can I clarify something? She
Sure.
said she was Ashkenazi Jew. That's more of the Jews who emigrated after the diaspora into Northern Europe and the Germanic states. The Sephardic Jews were the ones who lived more in the Spanish or the Moorish areas of life. So you were kind of 40%,
Russian,
Yeah.
Ukrainian, some Polish, but the Ancestry.com report comes with a little map.
Yeah.
And so it highlights all these areas that they think that you're
that
from.
may be your background. But you were
And,
definitely 46% Jewish.
That's what it said,
Okay, now look.
out of the clear blue.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about this and what she's found since then. But we need to take a break. Okay, so Street Talk and other stuff. Stick around. We got more on this story, which is even probably more interesting than what we've been so far. But hey, Mike Mad Dog Magnati talking with Vicki-Reed, my Jewish friend. Street Talk and other stuff. Stick around. We'll be right back.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
For all the latest news in North Central Washington, go to ncwlife.com or find us on Facebook. Got a news tip? Email us at news@ncwlife.com or call 888-2020.
Okay, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnani. I'm talking to my good friend Vicki-Reed, who thought she was just one of the ordinary run-of-the-mill white people. Found out that she is 46% Jewish, which is something she also discovered was not part of. Well, I'll let you tell the story. You go right ahead, okay.
Okay. So at that point, I've got to figure out, how do you even research something like that? So I started with my sister. In fact, as soon as I was yelling to my husband, I picked the phone and started texting my closest in age sister.
Who she thought was her sister.
She's who
Okay.
I thought
I'm just kidding.
was my only full sibling.
Okay, all right.
So there was a change to that. So I texted my sister, asked her what she knew. She had been closer to our father than I was, and so I asked her if he had ever mentioned anything about his heritage, where he came from. She told me that really all that she knew was that he was German. We were mostly German.
Okay.
So that really didn't turn into much of a lead. So my husband and I started spending our evenings and weekends on Ancestry.com. They have tutorials that you can watch. They have tools for building your family tree. And yet at the same time, if what Ancestry had told me was that a parent or a grandparent was probably 100% Jewish,
Right.
I just was not finding that. I was looking at all kinds of documents and census pages and was just pretty much a dead end.
All right, so what did you find out about your time down in L.A. So time down in L.A.,
Well,
so to speak.
My daughter suggested another route. So at that point, I did the DNA test through 23andMe. Ancestry.com does this as well, but what I found on 23andMe was that it pops up and tells you how many DNA matches have taken their test.
Right.
So it's first thing I learn when I get my results is they have 1,260 relatives of mine that have registered through 23andMe. There was 2% here and 1 point something there, and but one person popped up as a 13% DNA match. And 23andMe said they predicted that that 13% meant that we were first cousins.
Okay.
So I used their little messaging feature, sent her a message that basically said, "Hi, you don't know me, but we're related." And she answered back the very next day, and we had these little questions going back and forth. So what does this mean? I found out she was 23 years old, and I'm 58. So the whole first cousin thing didn't make sense. But then the big lead, the big clue, I got a phone call from my sister, and she said, I do have some information that you don't have. Mom told me that she and her husband were having fertility problems.
Who you believed was your biological father.
That's right.
Okay.
I don't know what to call him anymore. My faux father.
Your mother's first husband.
My mother's first husband. My faux as in F-A-U-X, you know,
Right,
my fake father, not my forefather, but my faux father. So the two of them went to fertility clinics in Los Angeles and ended up taking the route to where I was conceived by means of artificial insemination.
But you also found out that another family had gone to the fertility clinic at the same time.
Yes.
Not being to rush you, but I want to get this part in, you know. So.
As I was corresponding with my not first cousin, she actually took the bold step of calling 23andMe and saying, it doesn't make sense that we're first cousins. They told her 13% could also be, it could also mean she was my half-niece. So immediately she went to her mother and said, "Mom, you're taking this test." We, in the process of corresponding, and I just gotta say, these two women have become some of my favorite people in the world.
Oh, that's cool.
So
you found out the girl's mother is your...
I found out the girl's mother is my half-sister.
Right.
When her DNA results came back, it was a 21% match. It said, we predict you are half-sisters. You scroll through it all, and at the bottom is the chromosome that tells you the information that comes from your father. That chromosome, we were a 100% match.
Okay. Now that's cool, and I know you met these people, and I wish we had a little more time, but I have to ask you, you know, since you found this out, do you have any aversion to eating pork or around Christmas time?
Shellfish? Are you kidding?
Do you start lighting candles, you know? Do you go, Hava, Nagila. Come on, Vicky.
Sure.
Nagila, Hava.
Actually, I'm considering having a bat mitzvah.
Oh, really? Cool.
You know, I missed it. I was 13, didn't know, blew right past it. I hear you get really good presents.
Yeah, you get fountain pens.
Fountain
That's what you
pens.
get. Well, okay. I'm here with Vicki-Reed, my friend who I never knew was Jewish. But I always liked Jewish people. Knew a lot of them. Some of my best friends in New Jersey were Jewish.
There you go.
But hey, Very interesting, okay? But hey, we got just a little bit more to go. You want to stick around for this part. But Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati will be right back.
Please join us weekly for the 12th District with yours truly, Kerry Condata. Check your channel guide for times or go to ncwlife.com for details.
Okay, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati. Now, what I usually do at this time of the show is read a letter called, the portion of the show called Your Probably Worthless Opinion, where people write into me and ask my advice, offer their opinion about things. Now, this is an interesting one. I peeked at it earlier, and it's from an attorney, okay?
Okay.
Attorney's letters are always good. Now, this letter actually relates to a show I did previously. And the attorney says this. He says, Dear Mad Dog, I'm an attorney, and I wanted to let you know I find... I love this. I find your show very offensive. I think it's an insult to the legal profession that a person like you, that a person like you of such limited intelligence and bad taste would make fun of attorneys. Yeah. God forbid anybody should do that. Okay, how dare you suggest to a poor person who was unreasonably charged with a crime to plead guilty? The man who this attorney was representing was charged with the crime of frottage, which basically means he likes to share his love. We're going to get there in a minute. His actions were misunderstood, but he was unreasonably harassed by the police who showed up to his workplace with guns. And how could you possibly explain this horrible example of police injustice and your unmitigated, how could you possibly explain this horrible example of police injustice and your unmitigated ignorance? Signed, lawyer and proud of it. Okay, well, Mr. Attorney, first of all, I checked with this case with my police pal, and I can explain a few things to you. First of all, frottage does not mean sharing your love, okay? It's not what it means. What it means is that rubbing against a stranger for sexual gratification. That's what frottage means. So that's what your client was charged with. Second, now, this may be a surprise to you, and I don't mean to shock you, but cops carry guns, okay? They do. You're just going to have to get used to it, okay? And thirdly, I found out that your client was going to make a formal complaint against the police, but then changed his mind because he was so thrilled because they handcuffed him. So my advice to you is just tell your client to plead this one out, okay? Don't you love it? Okay, so what are your plans, Vic? You know, where are you going to go with this? Okay, we got a couple more moments here. So,
well, this newfound relationship, where the three of us women are just really enjoying getting to know each other.
You have a half sister and
a half niece.
And a half niece.
And a half niece.
Cool.
And we are already making plans for the holidays. We're going to go down and visit in November.
Cool.
Not over the actual Thanksgiving, but we're going to have a pre-Thanksgiving family function together.
Oh, very neat. Very neat.
And we are just, I don't know, it's like falling in love with a sister you never knew you had.
That's kind of cool.
Just
all right, well, hey,
thoroughly enjoying it.
Maybe we'll have you back when we have a little bit more in the future. But hey, Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati. Stick around and we'll see you next week. Have a great day. And Mr. Attorney, plead him out.